I'm getting too old for this shit. Alright. Let's just go through the suspects one more time. Was it the pale girl with the green hair? Or could it be the pale man whose head is also part of his face? Or is it the pale, handsome detective with the excellent beard? No. It's not me. I didn't do it. When it really comes down to it, the missing piece of the puzzle is this good game. I can't figure it out. Alright, to figure this murder out, I better return to the source. The game itself. I better analyze it critically, but fairly, and as unbiased as I can. It's just too hard to figure out. I don't want to do it. Detective Grimoire is a point-and-click adventure game which just released on Steam and was developed by SFB Games. If you were on Newgrounds back when it was still a thing, is it still a thing? Then you might know them better as the Super Flash Bros, Tom and Adam Vian. They've been around making games for a while, with the original Detective Grimoire releasing in 2007. I was a sophomore in high school, so yeah, a while ago. In middle school and early high school, these were the guys. They made some of my favorite Flash stuff, so I'm excited to dive into their most recent endeavor, Detective Grimoire, Secret of the Swamp.
2025 last night, a murder occurred in a remote part of this swamp.
Right from the get-go, you'll notice that the art for this game is absolutely stunning. In my memory cam, I recall the original game looking really good. It had pretty backgrounds and nice environments, and I remember genuinely enjoying its character designs. However, going back and playing that one now, it's still a good-looking Flash game, but it's clear that the new one just blows it out of the water entirely. The new character designs are exaggerated and stylized, committing the game to a unique art style that really works in its favor. The backgrounds are similarly gorgeous, with moody lighting and vivid color choices effectively conveying the game's mysterious atmosphere. In fact, each of the game's components seem to fit this atmospheric theme, contributing to the overall mysterious feel of everything. Accompanying the artwork is a brilliantly composed soundtrack by Raphael Benjamin Meyer. It adds a sort of whimsical yet melancholy air to the game, keeping it tonally lighthearted despite the plot surrounding a gruesome murder. If this type of game doesn't appeal to you or whatever, do yourself a favor and download the soundtrack. This type of game tends to rely somewhat heavily on narrative, and Detective Grimoire mostly delivers in that regard. Each character is instantly likable or interesting. This is partially due to the previously mentioned character designs themselves, which give these characters personality without them ever speaking. That being said, the voice cast behind this game features an A+ lineup, with each character delivering the lines in amusing ways and standing out amongst the rest. Aaron Egoraptor Hansen, for instance, voices the nerdy Agent Folder.
Apparently it has since become some diabolical instrument in the art of murder.
Oh, I bet you did it, you stupid nerd. Art of murder? Oh, you tricky motherfucker. Playing it all nerdy and coy and cute. Yeah, okay, you have a motive, you have a means. It was your lockpick found at the scene of the crime. I mean, come on, your neckbeard is a dead giveaway. I bet you frequent Reddit, you slothful, lying scumbag. I'm gonna prove it was you. You goddamn nerd. The game just generally does a good job of drawing you into its world as you discover more and more about its strange history and connection to each of the characters. This is all accomplished with the art, sound, and character designs working together to present an engrossing world and atmosphere. I will say that there were weird aspects to the ending of the story which I didn't like. Without giving anything away explicitly, there was just some weird dialogue stuff and a reveal that didn't feel satisfying. The ending overall was fine, and I'm excited to continue the story in the hinted at direct sequel, but there were some bits that didn't sit well with me. And alright, that's all vague or whatever, but hey, you should experience it for yourself. You might like it, and the overall journey to getting to the ending is worth it anyways. The gameplay in Detective Grimoire is okay. The core of the game is quite good, and has been borrowed from other adventure games. Gameplay is primarily broken up into 3 categories: clicking on stuff, talking to people, and completing puzzles. Clicking on stuff is a tried and true thing within this genre, and you'll be doing a lot of it. Click on that water. Click on those trees. Click on that...
No clues, just mud.
Excuse me?
No clues, just mud.
In order to get the elusive 100% achievement, you really will need to click on everything. Clicking on stuff reveals clues and information about different locations and characters. It's also required to beat the game, so make sure you don't miss anything.
No clues, just mud.
You'll also be spending a good portion of the game talking to various characters. You play the titular Detective Grimoire investigating the murder of Mr. Remington, so it makes sense that you spend a good portion of the time interrogating potential suspects. This element of the gameplay works, but only because the characters are interesting and the dialogue is fun and well written. Unfortunately, there isn't any real consequence of talking to these characters. Sure, you unravel the mysteries of the swamp, but it's all very straightforward. You sometimes get options for Grimoire's responses, but they don't really have any impact on the course of the game. As far as I can tell, the characters never even lie. Even the murderer, who I won't reveal here, only hints that they're lying, but doesn't actually do it outright. Since talking to characters is such a core component of the game, I'd be interested to see a more in-depth system. There's almost this sort of depth, but it falls a little flat. For each suspect, there's a challenge to be unlocked. Grimoire will discover something of particular interest about the character, usually linking them to the murder. He will then closely interrogate them on the subject. As the player, you'll have to pay close attention to the dialogue in order to give correct responses when faced with an option. However, these are generally incredibly easy, and even if you do get it wrong, you can just try again. There seems like there could be potential in failure here, like you would face the consequences for remembering the information incorrectly. What if you slip up in one of these challenges and all your evidence points to the wrong person by the end of the game? Or what if the characters at least lied to you and you had to find evidence to call them out on it? It's this extra bit of depth that I'd be interested in seeing in future installations. What's also a little weird about talking to characters is their generally static nature over the course of the game. Sure, you unlock different dialogue options at later points in the game, but other than that, the characters stay the same. They don't interact with each other, and only a few of them even know each other. Considering how isolated the swamp is and how few people there are, it seems weird that they don't all know each other. Like, you ask them about someone else, and most of the time they'll respond, "I don't know that person." Or they don't even know themselves sometimes.
This person is of no interest to me whatsoever.
Their knowledge of clues is limited as well. To get 100% completion, you pretty much need to try everything, but almost everything is useless. Why have such an extensive system when practically none of it is helpful? Even a suspicious sounding "I don't know" would suffice, but the same sound bites are used even if the character genuinely would know what the object is, i.e. the murderer when shown objects from the scene of the crime. It would also just be interesting to see other characters interact amongst themselves, or change slightly as the game progresses. The most disappointing part of the gameplay is probably the puzzles. They punctuate the game well and are presented fairly consistently, but they're all so brief and easy that they hardly feel like puzzles at all. The first puzzle you encounter is the lock on this gate, but I'm not sure how this qualifies as a puzzle. It seems like the concept could be tricky and clever, but the execution here is poor. It's like an easier version of a maze you might find on a Denny's kids menu. You did it! When I first came across this, I thought it might be introducing me to a repeated mechanic that would get harder and harder. This wasn't the case though, as none of the puzzles repeat themselves. You'll also get these mini puzzles when Detective Grimoire is putting something together. You'll have a few sentence fragments and you need to order them correctly. Maybe there were multiple correct answers, but as far as I could tell, it was an obvious answer every time. This is a unique system though, and like the dialogue, it'd be cool to see a bit more depth applied to it. Again, what if you could fail at this? You're playing detective, so what if you drew the wrong conclusions from the evidence when faced with this sort of sentence puzzle? That would be a puzzle worth solving since it carries actual consequences for the course of the game. Right at the end of the game even, you're faced with the sound, quote-unquote, puzzle, but you can complete it without even listening to the sounds themselves. The one time I actually got stuck on a puzzle was when I came across a lock which required a code to open. There wasn't anything in my clues or notes to help me figure it out. I looked through everything, trying any 4-digit number I came across, and nothing. I won't give the solution away, but I had to do some digging in the environments to figure it out, and it was really satisfying. However, this puzzle was optional and is the only one of its kind in the entire game. It'd be neat if there were several of these types of puzzles scattered throughout, and if the puzzles required to beat the game were more challenging. Despite all those criticisms, the overall experience of this game isn't a bad one. On the contrary, I thoroughly enjoyed my experience playing through the whole thing. I've already talked about how engrossing the world, story, and characters all are, and how effectively the art and sound provide a compelling atmosphere. For this type of game, those elements really go a long way. I would have liked more of a challenge, but it didn't really detract from my enjoyment of the game. I still had a lot of fun clicking around and exploring everything. I do think, though, that improvements to the gameplay components I talked about here, like harder puzzles and more dialogue options, would greatly improve future installments. Well, Detective K. Huge, you really did it. You really figured out the case. Detective Grimoire, it's a fun game. It's not challenging, but it's a good experience. It's worth it, and it has room for improvement with all the sequels. But given the film noir theme here, you know, there's got to be something that's going wrong. There's got to be something that's bad about all of this. Oh yeah. I don't have any friends. I don't have any friends. Thanks for watching my video. There's more coming out in the next few weeks, and I have a bunch of stuff in the works, so subscribe to be able to see that as soon as I get done with all of it. In the meantime, why don't you check out my most recent video, which was 3 months ago, my Mike Wazowski Scare and Wear earbuds review. Also, if you are just exclusively into video games, you can check out some of my video game videos, such as my Pokemon Snap retrospective. And hey, why not give Detective Grimoire a download, and check out some of the other stuff by the Super Flash Bros. Alright, thanks. Thanks.